The new Raid Exotic shotgun from the Root of Nightmares is called the Conditional Finality, and it's absolutely hilarious. This is exactly the kind of thing I love to see from Bungie. This gun is creative, unique, compelling, one of a kind, and has a very specific strength that's too good to pass up. We'll unpack all of that in today's video for sure, but if you don't watch the whole video, and you only take one thing away from it before you click off, then I hope it's this. The Conditional Finality is a super slayer. If an enemy pops a super, the finality will tuck them gently into bed, pat them exactly twice on the head before going downstairs and eating their Halloween candy that they were dumb enough to leave out in the living room. Bubble? No problem. This thing will freeze them, shatter them, blow them up, or any combination of those three. Same thing for a Well of Radiance. If you're careless enough to let me walk into your well, then I can guarantee I won't be the one heading back to the respawn screen. I mean, Dawnblade, Golden Guns, you name it, I've shut it down with this shotgun. Putting a few hundred kills on this thing was some of the most fun I've had in PvP in a while. Now do me a favor, if you liked seeing any of those supers crumble, then, hey, please consider leaving a like on the video as it's the best free way to support content creators here on YouTube. But let's start breaking this thing down so you can understand it better. I do know that my good friend and Raid teammate Cool Guy had his video go live this morning on the finality. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet as I had to go get some stitches out and then get back to editing. But I'm assuming that if you saw his video, then you'll probably hear some similar information as he and I did some testing of the weapon a bit together and chatted about it. But first things first, I want to talk about how this gun looked. Like, dear God, this thing is absolutely beautiful. Stunning. It's a compelling design that demands your attention. It's essentially a double-barrel sawed-off shotgun. And I love that look. And it behaves in some similar ways, too. It has extremely high handling, like a sawed-off shotty would, without the weight of a lengthy metal barrel on it. But the trade-off, then, is that the range is not as great. It's not going to be mapping people like a Felwinter's Lie, mostly because it has no range perks on it, like those other shotties have, with, Range Masterworks, the barrels that improve range and pellet spread, or a mag that does the same. So this is a genuine brawler in that regard. But the barrels themselves are awesome looking. The left one is solar, and when a round is loaded into it, you can see flames coming out of that side. The right barrel is stasis, and similarly, when there's a round loaded into that barrel, you can see stasis crystals protruding from that side of the weapon. It's gorgeous. More on how those elements play a part in the gun's performance in a minute, but first let's talk base stats. Now this gun is a friggin' liar. Don't believe anything it tells you. It says it has 5 rounds in the magazine. It absolutely does not. That would be absurd for a double barrel shotgun. It's like the Fourth Horseman having 4 barrels and 5 shots with the catalyst. It doesn't make sense, but we love it regardless. So there's obviously only 2 rounds loaded into the gun at a time maximum. It says it fires at 165 rounds per minute. It does not. It actually fires at the same RPM as an aggressive frame shotgun. It does aggressive frame damage too. It's basically just an aggressive frame shotgun, really. It also tells you, and I quote, fires stasis and solar pellets quickly. Now that's also a lie. Now it would make sense. When I read that text, I was thinking double barrel shotgun, right? In most cases, a double barrel sawed-off shotgun can dump both rounds immediately and then queue up the reload. You can just bop bop. So when I read that text, that's what I thought this shotgun was going to do. I thought it would be a big damage, short range, big handling, and able to dump both shots back to back quickly based off that text description of the split decision as well as the overall aesthetic of the gun. But here's the strange part. When you actually go in and inspect the weapon, the text for split decision changes in that screen. Instead there, it reads, dual barrels split into stasis and solar damage. So the perk description is written differently on those 2 screens for the same perk. So with the magazine being wrong, the rate of fire being wrong by basically triple the real RPM, the text being at best misleading if not flat out wrong about quickly firing off buckshot, my honest opinion is that this gun went through several different iterations between being a genuine sawed-off shotgun and being what it is right now, and those text fields just never got updated with the final product. I think this gun was different originally, and after playtesting, they made changes to it to make it basically an aggressive frame. And that does give the gun a bit of an identity crisis, honestly, and takes away from the whole double barrel sawed-off vibe that it gives off. Now that being said, it's not altogether a bad thing. This shotgun is actually mega fun and hilarious to use. But that's because of the exotic perks. Let's hit that next. The exotic perk on the weapon is called Paracausal Pellets. It reads, landing nearly all stasis pellets will freeze targets. Landing nearly all solar pellets will ignite targets. Now that's what makes the gun so cool. You can freeze targets with the stasis side, you can blow them up with the solar side. In PvE, this is actually a really good gun. For majors and champs, you can just constantly freeze them if you want by shooting the stasis shot and then reloading it and doing it again. Or you can freeze, detonate back and forth and bake big targets, and you're also getting extra damage from the shattering and the buckshot itself. It's a ton of damage. Now this works in PvP too. It's kind of confusing. In my playtesting, there's like no consistency to this. Sometimes I feel like I hit all of my buckshot and nothing happens. They don't freeze, they don't blow up. Sometimes I slow it down and I only hit like 6 or 7 shots out of the shotgun spread, and it freezes them or blows them up. And I'm like, I don't get it. There's no consistency, which kind of goes back to this gun being a bit of a liar. But regardless, it does work in PvP too. There are a lot of clips in here like this one on Midtown where I'm getting collapsed on in a tiny room. And when they all dogpile, I just get one full stasis shot into the first guy and he immediately freezes and shatters, doing AoE damage, and ultimately I get a triple kill out of it. That scenario plays out several times in this video if you're watching for it. Lots of collateral kills with the shatter. The best part is that this pairs with ice flare bolts for the Shadebinder, leading to even more freezing and shattering. It makes for a fun gameplay loop, and that's why the majority of the gameplay is on the Shadebinder. But the solar side can ignite players too. That does AoE damage as well, and you can spec into the solar side too by making your ignitions bigger and applying additional scorch stacks and so on. I think the solar side is harder to fully leverage though, since you only get to use the solar side after you've fired off the stasis shot. So the stasis side always goes first. That's why it's a stasis weapon in the kinetic slot. So if you want the explodey round, you have to dump the stasis shot and go in with just one round chambered. But you always know which side is currently loaded and ready to fire because your reticle will tell you. If it's the stasis shot, then your reticle will be a triangle, like a diamond, like the pyramid ships, so it's easier to remember. Pyramid, darkness, yada yada. If it's a circular reticle, like the sun, then it's the solar shot. That way you never get confused. And once you spend the shot, the barrel will lose its elemental visuals on the gun as well. I got the most mileage out of this weapon using Shadebinder in PvP. The ice flares are just too good to pass up, plus the added benefits I get from shattering frozen enemies. All that stuff comes together quite nicely in the conditional finality. I had an absolute blast rocking this thing and shutting down supers, as well as getting those surprise multi-kills here and there. In PvE, I do apologize, I got carried away in PvP with this thing, so that's why the footage I have to show you today is almost exclusively PvP. But it does some serious work in PvE as well. It's so good for controlling big targets. You can keep them locked down. You can stun champs with the shattering and igniting. And it's also good for ad control too when integrated with stasis and solar builds that take shattering and igniting to the next level. Now, some advice on getting this thing to drop. The conditional finality only drops from Nezarec, the final boss of the Root of Nightmares raid. So obviously you're going to need to knock out some raids, up to 3 looted clears of the boss each a week to get this. Luckily, this raid is arguably one of the easier raids that we've ever had, and one of the most quickly completed too. I got lucky and it dropped on my 3rd clear, but before that 3rd clear, I made sure to knock out several of the triumphs for the raid that increase your exotic drop rate. I love that they added this. The more you master the raid, the higher your chances of getting the raid exotic will be. So we did several of those triumphs in our first 3 clears, like the triumph for killing the Scions simultaneously in the first encounter, and not killing the Centurion's triumph for the second encounter until all the nodes are completed, and activating all the nodes within a few seconds of each other in the final boss room. So we did all of those to make sure our chances of getting the exotic were higher than base, and I'd like to say that that helped me get this after redeeming all those triumphs. So if you've got a team that's willing, make sure you get those triumphs completed. Or you could just have Cool Guy RNG and literally always get the raid exotic on your first clear going back 3 years now. I love him, but sometimes he makes it hard. So where does that leave us in PvP? Is this a meta gun? Is it going to replace the Imperial Decrees and the Felwinter's Lies and the Matadors? I'll keep it simple for you. No, it will not. It is super fun, and that's why I like it. I play Destiny for fun, not to be the sweatiest, bestest, slidingest, jumpiest, kitty cat playing guy in the match, but the fun factor is through the roof on this thing. But no, it won't be meta. I do see one place where it may actually be a meta pick, but that's very situational. I think you might see players switch to this in high-stakes matches like ranked and trials matches, or even Iron Banner Fortress if that comes back when supers start coming up in the match. In trials, wells and bubbles are very popular, and they often decide the outcome of a close match in the later rounds. Same thing with ranked matches. And Fortress is just bubble hell. So in those situations, you may see this thing come out and really shine. It really is an absolute hard counter to bubbles, and it's a serious dopamine hit shutting one down with it. I highly recommend you try it if you get this shotgun. Thanks so much for watching the video. Feel free to leave a like on it only if you enjoyed it, and feel free to subscribe for additional Destiny 2 content. I appreciate you all. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and good luck on your raid clears and loot drops. And I hope to catch you in the Crucible.